How to buy an inexpensive 560 SL. Mercedes made a lot of 560 SLs. In fact, I think that they made more 560 SLs than they did any other model of 107 except for the 380 and the 450. So today we're going to talk about how you can reconcile the problem of wanting a 560 SL with what seem to be ever-increasing market values for the best examples. And so I'm going to go through a couple of cheater moves that I have, which I've used to help clients acquire good 560 SLs that are really usable cars that sold for well under the money of what you'd expect. The price range we're going to be shopping in here is about the $12,000 to $17,000 bracket. This is a pretty affordable bracket that I believe reflects a purchase range for a solid 560. Now, after about 100,000 miles with most classic Mercedes, the majority of buyers seem to lose interest. But because these are what I have always touted as forever cars, that should not really be an issue. And when you start getting into the upper mileage ranges of 130 to 150,000 miles, there can be some great deals in the 560 SL world. First of all, in these low mileage cars, in these higher mileage cars, let me tell you what to watch out for. Number one, watch out for oil leaks from the head gaskets or excessive oil consumption. Having to repair head gasket oil leaks basically means pulling the heads and doing a valve job on the car. That could set you back about $5,000. So automatically, if you find a higher mileage car with over 100 to 125,000 miles that's just seeping oil out of the backs of the cylinder heads, budget about $5,000 to $6,000 to deal with that issue and to mitigate it the right way. You may also want to include a timing chain and some other items in there, such as injectors or an electrohydraulic actuator. So don't let the idea of just doing a valve job be the end of your thinking with one of those cars. Still, I've seen some 150,000 mile cars that had some of these issues, and by the way, they don't have to be dealt with immediately, that were for sale for $7,500 or $8,000. And if you could find the right mechanic and plan your repair effectively and you know, not go ridiculously over budget on the repair, in other words, plan for the worst before you get started, not during or after, you could end up with a decent car for around $15,000. Now, what else is a 150,000 mile 560 going to need? It's probably going to need lower ball joints and upper control arms. Parts for this job will set you back at about $750. Well, maybe it's not, is it? About $600 a piece for the upper control arms, and I don't know, about $80 for the lower control arms, so they're not that expensive. You might also need a steering coupler, an AC compressor, and a timing chain. And if you do all those jobs, you might have an additional $2,500 in the car. So at $2,500 plus the front end stuff, which could be an additional $1,500 with labor, you still have $4,000 that you've spent on, you know, a $12,000, $13,000, $14,000, $15,000 car. And surprise, many of the sub 100,000 mile cars need the same things. Now, what exactly am I saying here? Am I saying that you should buy the car that needs some work and then spend some money on it so you can end up in the same place you would be if you bought a low mileage car? Well, not really, because a lot of the low mileage cars also tend to need AC compressors. They also tend to need timing chains, sometimes rocker arms, belt sets, steering couplers. It's all a function of age. But finding a higher mileage car that has been well maintained, where some of these items, at least some of these items, have been dealt with, is a win for everybody involved. It's usually a win for the seller, because if they get $15,000 for one of these cars, they I don't know, it's not easy to get somebody to write you a check for $15,000, especially when you have a second or third car you're not using. It's a win for you, the buyer, because you'll still be ahead, not so much in terms of commercial value, because you will still have roughly a $15,000 car, but in terms of intrinsic value. because you'll have a usable car. So buy the cosmetically nice higher mileage car that needs the work and do the work if you want to come out ahead finding a car that's going to have good intrinsic value, a high level of usability, and probably unaffected reliability. Now, where do you find these cars? Well, I like to find them through other repair shops, maybe through word of mouth, maybe driving around in a nice area, maybe driving, you know, through a car show or something. I don't know. Finding a car like this is usually a word of mouth process. Sometimes you'll find them on Facebook Marketplace, or sometimes you'll find them on Craigslist, but I find that it's better to get a hold of the car before it is advertised, because that's where the deal often is. Okay, so if you enjoyed this video and you feel like I've talked you into a lower mileage 560, or at least the case can be made for one, just remember that this is a better proposition than a 380 SL or a 450 SL, and that this car could still appreciate in value in the future because 560s are such great cars. So please like, share, subscribe, comment below, and thank you to all of our Patreon supporters for doing market research for us and testing the waters to prove that these higher mileage 560s are indeed worth pursuing and restoring. See you guys in the next video. Enjoy winter driving season in Florida if you're down here.